Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing and first look at the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 Plus. Now this is the 128 gig model. It retails for $850 US. You can go for the 256 for a little over 900, and then if you're really going to go for it all, the 512 gig model retails for over 1,000 US. And I think those prices are a bit insane, but what is unique about this tablet is that it is the first time that Samsung is giving us a larger than 12-inch tablet since 2014. And the 12.4-inch AMOLED display here is fairly high res at 2736 by 1824, and overall the specifications are top-notch when you put it into perspective. So let me go ahead and get this thing out of the box. It just arrived, a little bit smashed on shipping, but hopefully all will be well. And in terms of specifications, one thing you do need to know is that if you pick this model, the 128 versus the 256 or the 512, you will only be getting 6 gigs of RAM versus 8. This isn't a new thing. It's something that's been going on for quite a while, but just be aware. Do I think there will be a huge difference in overall performance? Not necessarily, but it may be very important to you. Now, as I mentioned, storage is expandable on this tab. The pen magnetically sits right here and charges, as you can see from that diagram. And before I get to the tablet, let's take a look at the rest of the contents. We have our quick charger, the brick itself right here, the S Pen right here, and I do wish that there was a way to pocket this back in, which, you know, back with their Note line of tablets that I mentioned at the top of the video back in 2014, there was a way to do that, but unfortunately, there isn't now. We have a SIM ejector tool because that will give you access to the micro SD card slot for storage expansion, and then our charging cable. And that's pretty much it. Let's get to the tablet. And again, I am excited because it's just been so long since Samsung has given us a large format product like this. And it took too long, frankly. I mean, Apple all of a sudden made it seem like they were the first to do it when they were literally the last. But now, with the design and overall hardware, I mean, Samsung has come a really long way, and I just expect really good things. So we have a front-facing 8-megapixel camera right there, center top. We have 2 cameras on the back and a flash. As I mentioned, the pen should just snap onto this and charge like so. I believe. I may have it backwards, but oh, that looks correct to me. Let's see if we have any juice. I will get there in 1 second. SIM tray right there. No SIM actually on board here. This is a Wi-Fi only tablet, but as I mentioned, micro SD card slot for storage expansion. We have another microphone right there, I believe. Our volume rocker, power button, left side of the tablet. We have 2 stereo speakers right here. What appears to be another microphone pinhole. On the bottom, we have basically the Pogo port for the keyboard that I will be covering as well. And then on the other side, which is the bottom of the tablet, you have your charging port and stereo speakers as well. So we've got 4 speakers, so expect a solid multimedia experience. Let's power this up. And what's under the hood is important. It's the same thing you'll find in Samsung's flagship phones right now, the Note 20 Ultra, as well as the Galaxy Z Fold 2, and that's the Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 Plus. I mentioned you have 6 gigs of RAM in this model. I would prefer the 8 gigs, but the pricing on these tablets is insane. They really did take a lesson from Apple, unfortunately, and what that equates to is just an incredibly expensive device. And that doesn't mean it's not high quality. I mean, over 10,000 milliamp hour battery. This is really the Android tablet to beat, and with DeX on board, you will get a Windows or Mac desktop-like experience. That's the whole idea. I'll agree to all except for sending diagnostics. You know, I like to help, but not that much. And I'll log this into Wi-Fi, get all that good stuff going, and report back to you on what performance is like. But I'm expecting good things because my Tab S6 is already best in class as far as I'm concerned, and this is only going to be an improvement. I mean, you've got better hardware, You have essentially better everything with the larger form factor as well. And it's only a little over 20 ounces. Build quality seems excellent. So I'm just excited to get this going, put it through its paces. It went back accidentally there. It's checking for some updates right now. But overall, this should be, as I've stated, one of the best tablets money can buy. And it better be at, again, $850 US. I do wish that we got the 8 gigs of RAM here, obviously, but that just wasn't in the cards for this launch. They took a different approach to this launch versus any of their previous. And it's sad because, traditionally Samsung, I feel like, used to be aware of making this, a better value overall, but not today, folks, not anymore. This has now been a fully realized concept that, it took this long just to get back to having a Note, basically a sequel, if you will, a successor to the Note 12.2 Pro line that I keep mentioning. And that was one of the best Android tablets I ever covered back in the day. Didn't take too long to get here, even with all of my talking, but we're finally at the home screen, and it does take me back to those days. And I have to tell you, that was the tablet to own back then. It made the iPad look like garbage. And I have to say, this is likely going to do the same. Now, if you don't like Android, and if you're, going to basically complain that a lot of applications are not specifically redone and essentially ported properly over for a tablet mode, I understand where you're coming from. But if the flexibility of Android is what you're after and you are an Android user, nothing is going to be better than this right here. I know it already without even starting to use it, because I know what the hardware performs like between my Note 20 Ultra and the Galaxy Z Fold, except this is really the best of all of those worlds, but just shy on the RAM a little bit. This is one of those places where, 6 gigs of RAM, I don't say is acceptable at 850, but that's what they have the other 2 price points for if you really want to go to town. But that pretty much sums it up. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, all the latest and greatest. So you've got Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.0, no wireless charging, no IP rating, but those are things that went away, specifically the IP rating in tablets a long time ago, that I'd love to see them bring back. That pretty much sums it up. Just an unboxing, first look, excited to get this going. It is using, of course, Android 10 out of the box, Samsung's One UI 2.5, and I will see if there are any applicable updates. And we don't even have screen brightness all the way up. Let's just do that right now and just see if we do have any software updates. And because I'm sure there likely will be, there usually are. But, this is the type of tablet that if you do not own the Tab S6, I would jump on if the price doesn't scare you away. If you do own the Tab S6, and I will be comparing it to it, that's a much more difficult decision, because I don't think the hardware is going to blow away the Tab S6. It will really ultimately come down to whether or not you must have the larger display. And for travel, it's a pandemic, so I'm not going to endorse that with anybody. But when the time comes that it is actually safe and you don't have to worry about, I'm not just talking about yourself, but family members getting your parents or grandparents sick, then this is going to be obviously a big advantage just in terms of screen real estate over the Tab S6 with its 10.5-inch display, which, yeah, you can go with the Tab S7. And there's nothing wrong with the Tab S7 other than the fact that Samsung decided not to use a Super AMOLED display, and it's an LCD panel. So I do not recommend that. Unfortunately, they created 2 tiers. This is something Samsung's been doing a lot of lately in order to deal with pricing out the market and figuring out what consumers are willing to shell out. I do not recommend the Tab S7. In fact, I don't think you're going to find many people that do, simply because Samsung traditionally reserves anything other than the Tab S line to have LCD rather than AMOLED displays, and that's a downgrade I wouldn't recommend to anyone unless they were saving substantial money. And yes, there is a pretty large price gap, but not enough to justify not getting at least the base model of the 12.4. That is, of course, unless you absolutely must have something smaller, and in that case, I would get the Tab S6 and pass on the Tab S7 altogether. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them, hit that like button, and as usual, please feel free to subscribe, and please stay safe. Later.